Earlier this year in January, during Rob Walker's Vinyl Tag 2024, I had noted that my favorite decade of music was the 1980s. Coming up on Northern Vinyl Guy, this episode, I'm going to run through my 10 favorite albums from the 1980s that I have in my collection by decade. We'll see you on the flip side. Hello everyone, Daryl the Northern Vinyl Guy, back at you with another video, and on today's segment we're going to be looking at my 10 favorite albums of the 1980s, one per year. Now the reason that I'm doing this video is I was watching Craig's Vinyl Plethora. I'm going to leave a link to his channel down below. He's been doing a series on his favorite albums that he has in his collection. I think he does top 10 for each year that he's been doing. It's a great series, and it's not necessarily the top albums from those years, but his favorite from those years. So I kind of got a little bit of an idea recently. I didn't want to copy his entire idea, but it got me thinking, what are my favorite albums that I have in my collection from each of the years within that decade? So what I'm going to do today is I am going to pick my favorite album for each year. So only one per year that I have in my collection. So this doesn't mean that they are the most popular albums from that year or the best. It doesn't even necessarily mean, I'm a huge proponent for supporting Canadian music and all that kind of stuff, as we are all aware of in some of my series. So it might not even be my favorite Canadian albums of those years, just the favorite one that I have in my collection per year. So yeah, we are going to get started. I'm going to start with 1980 and I will move my way on to 1989. So I hope that you enjoy this series, not series, but this video, and yeah, we will get started. So 1980 is a year that I don't have a lot of records in my collection from 1980, and the ones that I do have, they've got a few hit songs here and there, but I don't have any of the major albums from that particular year. But the one album that I've kind of been harping on in a couple of my videos that I really do enjoy is the Outlaws, and Ghost Rider is the album from 1980. I just love the cool guitar that's on this front cover. But this is the one that has the famous title track, Ghost Riders in the Sky. It's one of those ghostly songs. I think it was originally written kind of in the 1940s or 1950s. There's been I wouldn't say a slew of bands, but there's been a few bands that have redone that song over the years. If you haven't heard this, I strongly recommend that you check it out. And actually, to start off side B on this album is the song I Can't Stop Loving You, which was done by Phil Collins. He redid that song, and it's a great version of that. Definitely more on the ghostly country style or country rock. But this is a great album. If you happen to find it, check it out. It's a great listen. So Outlaws, 1980. That is my favorite album I have in my collection from that year. All right, 1991. Oh, before I continue, one of the rules that I had is I could not repeat a band for any of the decades in the 1980s. So if I picked a specific band, I wasn't allowed to pick an album that I did like from them later on. So I had to be a little bit careful as to which albums I was picking. But from 1981, I chose Genesis's Abacab, and the title, once again, the title track on this is wonderful. This one here is actually on a pretty cool label. It's on the Vertigo label, but it is not your typical Vertigo Spiral label. It is that cool Vertigo one. And so, yeah, this is Abacab, and on the back side, you get, Phil Collins and the band here. I think one of the reasons that I really like this particular album by Genesis is this is, to me, one of their last ones that has that prog rock kind of sound. I'm not saying that they didn't do prog rock later on, but they definitely took a different approach with Invisible Touch and things like that going forward. This one does have Abacab, and No Reply at All is a great song, which is the second track on side one. So yeah, if you have not checked out Genesis's Abacab, please do so. And I believe, if I remember right, Abacab, the reason it's named that, kind of a weird name, I believe that those are the notes of the song and how it progresses throughout. So yes, one of their, in my opinion, last true-ish prog albums that is there. So 1981, Genesis and Abacab. 1982. This year was a little bit tricky. I think 1982 was Michael Jackson's Thriller and stuff like that. But I went with Toto's 4, which is a great album. I mean, this one has, a slew of their hits. If you haven't checked this one out, you are missing out. And of course, I am a huge fan of their drummer. Why am I running a blank on his name? What was his name? Jeff Porcaro. Always a fan of that. Of course, Toto 4. This is the one that has Rosanna. It has Africa on it. I Won't Hold You Back. All those great tracks. And of course, this is just on the straight up Columbia label. No eyes on that one. But yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, definitely go with a little bit of Toto 4, 1982. All right, moving on to 1983. This will not come as much of a surprise to anybody who's been following my channel. And of course, in my invites to Rob at Northern Revolution's Wednesday night segment, I brought up this particular album the other day. There really is not too many songs on here that I don't like, but Darlington County is the one that I'm not a huge fan of. But I mean, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. This is a fantastic listen. You cannot go wrong with this. In my my vinyl tag video back in January, I mentioned that this could be considered a greatest hits album. I mean, it's got Born in the USA, Cover Me, Darlington County, Working on the Highway, Downbound Train, I'm on Fire. That is just side one. And then No Surrender, Bobby Jean, I'm Going Down, Glory Days, Dancing in the Dark, and My Hometown to finish off side two. I mean, that is just greatest hits on wax right there. Bruce Springsteen. And of course, this is ironically two records in a row that are on the same type of Columbia label there, the red and yellow. So wonderful stuff right there. All right, so that was 1984. Moving on to 1985. This record here I have never shown on the channel. I do not know why I haven't shown this one. It's just, I guess it's just never come up. I haven't listened to this one in a little while, but this is fantastic. I purchased this when I was at a store in London, Ontario. Got a great deal on it. I think I got it for like $5 or maybe 10 at the most. And that is The Cult and the Love album. And this one here, when I was in my cover band that I was in up here in the north, of course that's a pretty cool wax there, cool label. But anyway, when I was in a little band up here in Moosonee, I had played on drums, and we did a cover of She Sells Sanctuary, and of course this also has the song Rain. But I mean, the whole thing is fantastic from start to finish. Nirvana, Big Neon, Glitter, Love, Brother Wolf, Sister Moon, Rain. I mean, these are all awesome songs. And of course, like I said, She Sells Sanctuary is I mean, for the cult in the 1980s. If you like that, I guess, gothic kind of, I don't want to call it punky music, but kind of gothic style of the 1980s, the goth rock and all that kind of stuff, that is fantastic stuff right there. So check it out if you have not heard Love by the Cult. All right, moving on to 1986. 1986, one of my favorite bands ever from the 1980s. I have all their albums from the 1980s, and when the lead singer went solo, I just wish that I could get his first solo album of the 1990s, but it is way too expensive on Discogs, and this will be no surprise if you've been watching my channel again. Bruce Hornsby and the Range, and The Way It Is, fantastic album. You cannot go wrong with this one. Almost, in my opinion, almost every song on here, if not every song, is gold. Absolute killer. This is a Canadian press. And of course, this one has On the Western Skyline, which is a fantastic way to start off side A. And then Every Little Kiss, Mandolin Rain, and The Long Race. So 4 songs on side A. And then The Way It Is, Down the Road Tonight, The Wild Frontier is fantastic. The River Runs Low, great song. And then finishing off the album with The Red Plains. And of course, Every Little Kiss, Mandolin Rain, The Way It Is, those were all major singles in 1986. So I am a huge proponent. If you haven't checked out this album in full, man, throw it on. Great stuff. All right, 1987. This one here is a reissue. I do not have an original copy of this. I haven't really shown this one on my channel either. I don't think I've really mentioned this band, and if I have, it's been only maybe once or twice. I cannot remember, but I am a huge U2 fan. Love their 80s stuff, and of course this is the Joshua Tree. This one brings me back to the late 80s. I got into this a little bit more in the 90s when I was in high school. When I had collected like Zooropa and stuff like that. But I started listening to them. And of course the Joshua Tree, I mean, Where the Streets Have No Name, still haven't found what I'm looking for, With or Without You. I know some people aren't a huge fan of some of the songs on here, but I do like Bullet the Blue Sky. And this, of course, is the heavyweight version. This is some pretty heavy vinyl here. One Tree Hill, Red Hill Mining Town, In God's Country. These are amazing songs. So if you are a fan of U2, but you haven't picked this one up, please make sure you do. If you have not taken a liking to U2, U2 is one of those bands, you either like them or you don't. But once again, brings back some good nostalgic memories and stuff like that. If you haven't checked this one out, make sure that you do. There's some pretty good reissues of this. All right, so some of you might be saying, Daryl, you are a proponent of Canadian music. Why have you not discussed any Canadian music so far? Well, the reality is that every single one of these years that I have covered, I have Canadian artists in each of those years, but they did not reach my favorite album of that particular year that I have in my collection. Now, 1988 is the exception to the rule. One of my favorite Canadian bands is Glass Tiger, and this one is the Diamond Sun album, 1988. I mean, this is killer Canadian music here. I mean, this is it's got Diamond Sun, I'm Still Searching, were some of the main singles. My Song, Watching Worlds Crumble, Send Your Love, Suffer in Silence. All fantastic albums. This one came with the inner sleeve and the lyric sheet on the back, and of course the band on the back side. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. I have a CD of theirs, which was called Airtime, and if it ever came out on vinyl, it's a compilation. I would definitely purchase it, and a lot of the tracks that are on Airtime are on the Diamond Sun album. and rightfully so, because those are amazing, fantastic albums. And last but not least, 1989. I know that a lot of people do not like this artist, especially during his solo time, not because the music isn't great, but because he's become kind of in the music industry. But I still love this album. I love the songs on it. And that is Don Henley and End of the Innocence. Gotta love the cigarette in his hand, looking all calm and collected. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have used the word earlier, but the reality is a lot of people don't like him. I mean, he's put blocks on. You can't, post music of the Eagles and stuff like that. It gets blocked or blanked out and that kind of stuff. But this album here has a lot of his great solo stuff. The End of the Innocence, Last Worthless Evening, New York Minute, and The Heart of the Matter. I mean, those are the major singles on here. But I can listen to this start to finish. It does not bother me. I do have the inner sleeve that comes with it. So very cool. So at the 1989 spot, we have Don Henley, and this one's on Geffen. I don't have too many Geffen records, but this one is on the Geffen label. So yeah, awesome stuff. Those are my 10 favorite albums that I have in my collection, one per year of the 1980s. Once again, these are not the most popular albums by year. In fact, in many cases, the most popular albums of those individual years I do not have in my collection, at least not yet. You will notice I do have the Thriller album, but it's not my favorite album of, I believe it was 1982. And there's a few others that I have in my collection that would probably meet other people's number one spot, but just not mine. They fell short. So let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of my top 10 picks for 1980s. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Love to know if you have any of these albums and what you think of those albums. If you are a returning subscriber watching my video, please, thank you for continuing to watch my series. Thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate your help and your support. If you are a new watcher, new viewer to my channel, please click the subscribe button, leave me a thumbs up, leave some comments in the section below, click that bell for those notifications, and until next time, take care everyone and stay safe.